Oops.
You can help your life through music therapy. Give it a try and you'll surely see life is simple by the life tree. And truly happy you will be. I was in pain and now I'm free. Helping part by music therapy. Now I am truly happy. So my expression is truly free. Music therapy, happy you will be. Music therapy, of pain I'm now free. Music therapy, happy you will be. Music therapy, in pain I am now free. So listen closely and listen to me. What's up?
I thought it was over. Sorry.
Music therapy. It works, trust me, you will see. Your life is better with music therapy.
All right, Robbie Stingle on the guitar and vocals. Amazing, as always. Wow. What do you guys think of that?
Woohoo!
All right.
Bring it, Robbie.
Bring it, Robbie. All right. Well, we've got a very special guest on the show here tonight. Today. Well, in some places in the world, it is tonight, right? And he's in Hitchcock land right now, so don't get seasick. We've got Michael B on the show today. And we've got Janice Lala, co-hostess with the mostest on the Music is Therapy show here on Sunday mornings in California, anyway, at 10:30 in the morning. And I apologize for being late today, but I had work to do. Believe it or not, I do have another job. This is not it. And I wish I could make that much money doing this, but maybe someday would be pretty cool, right? But the bottom line is we do this for the love of it and to spread good word and information, knowledge, and all that about therapies of all kinds, but mostly music therapy, right, on this channel. And Michael B is here because let's highlight Michael B here, because this guy, he's done it all. He's been there, he's come back, gone back, came back, went there again, and came back again. That is kind of how bipolar is, right? It's an up and down.
No, it's like this.
It's like this, in and out. It's don't start spinning now, because that's gonna even make it worse. But if you guys could imagine, just imagine what it might be like. But if you can't imagine, that's why he's here. He's going to talk to us a little bit about his experiences. This is his second time, so part 2 of Michael B on the show. And Janice, you're going to be the hostess with the mostest, but I know you have to leave early. So when you head out, just say goodbye to all the folks. And as you are doing, as you usually do, moderating the chat, right? As is right. Martin of L&M Guitar Corner. What's up, Martin? Might as well say hi to everybody. Blackjack Guitar. Martian Murray is also here. He's from Mars. And we got William De Silva. De Silva is in the house. And then we've got, who else? We had some other people up at the top here.
Blackjack
Hi
Guitar.
to them. Blackjack Guitar, yeah. So we have about 11
Johnny
people
Bean.
in the chat so far. Johnny Bean's going to show up. Johnny, I didn't send you an invite. You want to jump in and say hi to Michael?
He's in the chat. Yeah,
he is in the chat. Let me send him a quick WhatsApp, and if you want to jump in and say hi to your buddy here. But yeah, man, we've got an interesting, if not informative, show for you all today. Let's see, where was it? I looked at so many things. I've been, I usually do a lot of research before a show like this, because you've got to.
We got MPN 5150.
MPN 5150. All right, what's up, dude? MPN, isn't he hailing from the big giant continental island of Australia? I believe MPN, isn't he?
Excellent. I'm not sure.
Michael, right? You're from MPN.
It is
Mike.
It is Mike. I don't know where he's from though.
I think he is from Austria. So
Pennsylvania.
Australia.
No,
Australia.
Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Oh my God! So I'm mixing him up with another 5150 dude then.
Yeah, you're thinking of Andrew.
No, I'm not. There's another Mike that's out there,
Oh,
or
okay.
another 5150, not Andrew. Yeah,
Okay.
but anyway, Cushman from New York City also in the chat saying hi. Allentown, man, that's what I think. Isn't that where Billy Joel's from? He sings that song about Allentown, right? I'm a huge Billy Joel fan. I don't know about you guys, but
Of course, Piano Man, of
love his
course.
piano, the original Piano Man. That's right. That guy was a big inspiration to me. I wish I
Keith
could sing
H.
like that.
Hey, brother.
Keith H, what's up? James
What's
G,
going on?
also here. We're getting a bunch of people in. So today's topic is bipolar disorder, and it's not a disease; it's an illness. There are differences, right, between
Well,
what
it's a
these
disorder.
definitions are.
It's a
But they
disorder.
call it a disorder. But we do classify it in the DSM, which is a psychiatric kind of like book of disorders.
I know why they call it a disorder.
Well, yeah, that's a good question, right? Why do they call it a disorder? So
Because politically they didn't want to call it a disease and
yeah,
acknowledge it as a sickness. It's a political statement.
right. It's now becoming more accepted, as are
Yep.
many mental dysfunctions and disorders, as illnesses and diseases, because just like a heart condition, you don't have control over it. And it's something that we're still trying to understand. The mind is so complex, as we all know. If we have a brain, we know, because it can mess us up sometimes, right? Hey, Rhoda's Jam Cave, right?
Sometimes it's your gut too.
It can be your gut, which is also connected, because all these things are connected to the nervous system. Yep. And that is all part of mind. If we want to call what consciousness is our thoughts and our mind, right? And it can happen when we're sleeping. We're not even conscious. We're
Rhody's Jam Cave.
But yet we're still conscious in a way, right? So Rhody, what's up?
Before we get into it, I just want to say three things really quick.
Go. One.
Hey, I sent the letter.
Okay. Two.
Todd, the one that wanted to move in, found a place of his own.
Awesome.
And I went to Burger King with Lee yesterday, my ex.
I went to Burger King yesterday too. Wow. Okay. I never go to Burger King.
26 years
I did not go to Burger King yesterday.
Actually, it wasn't yesterday. It was Friday night. On my way home, I was running late. I didn't make it to an appointment here as manager of the complex that I live at. And so that was disappointing.
So 3 goals.
Miss a time. So you got 3 goals done. So why was Burger King such a big goal, though? I need to know, why was Burger King?
Because I met up with my ex.
Oh, okay. So that was cathartic, kind of helping you get through
26 years.
Wow.
Wow, you hadn't seen your ex in 26 years?
26 years.
Wow. Okay. Well, good for you.
How'd it go?
So he was still in love with you. I knew it.
No, I don't know.
He's like, oh my God, you haven't changed at all, Janice.
Oh, he's the same old mess that he ever was.
Oh, well, that's why you guys aren't together anymore, right? Anyway, cheers to that. All right, now we'll get serious. We can have some levity in this show. It's not all science and seriousness. Carry on. Thank you. Oh.
Yeah, welcome to the
oversharing
hour.
My drug of choice, you all. My drug of choice. Henning Poly is my drug of choice. Hence the gas that you see all around me. If you don't know what gas is gear acquisition syndrome. That's what I suffer from. That's one of the things. The other one is constant flapping of the beak here. That's the other one. Anyway,
I'm suffering from the other situations.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so we all have other situations, right?
The lawnmower tapes, excellent. How you doing?
What's up, Lawnmower Tapes? New to the show here. Please subscribe and share. I'm trying to grow this thing. But I think I might have to change some things up. What do you guys think? If I want to grow this thing. Not in any drastic way. I mean, like, just get more professional. Even though Michael thinks that this microphone sounds fantastic.
Yeah, you get the NPR voice when you go close. Yeah.
If you go close, you could say, in a world.
It does that over
in a world where Janice and Michael come to the show. Anyway, we are here at this beautiful northern, I guess I call it middle California, but they call it northern California. It's kind of in the middle. Northern NorCal. Is this NorCal? I call it mid-Cal. San Francisco Bay Area. I'm in Livermore, California. Where are you from, Janice? Tell everyone.
Stamford, Connecticut.
And
actually, I'm from Portchester, New York.
Well, originally, like what your shirt doesn't say it this time. Okay. Anyway, Oh, it says Janice. Oh, I want one of those. Is that like your shirt? Is that like your show? Like, do you have like a channel shirt now?
No, actually, you know how Facebook has these advertisements. You get your name over here, or it might say Laszlo. It's a Laszlo thing, and
Oh,
you can
okay.
order it.
Oh, this is like a Janice thing.
People think that it's a scam, but it's not.
Oh, interesting. Well, I
It's
have
real.
been told that I lazify people. So that's a term that a friend of mine's wife said. You need to hang out with Dan, her husband, and lazify him because he needs some lazification. I'm like, what? What is this? Is a thing? Lazification. So that's partly why I do this YouTube thing because I'm trying to lazify the world. In other words, you know, make us all happy. Anyway. So it ain't easy because it's not always under our control, right, Michael? So now we'll come to Michael B, he is from the lobster land, as we like to call it, lobster land.
I'm a masshole.
He's a masshole from Boston, Mass. How do you say it properly?
Boston, Mass.
Boston, Massachusetts. Yeah, it depends on what borough you hail from, right? As to what your accent's like, which
Yeah,
has
no,
a
it
lot to
does.
do with and that has a lot to do with what the old boroughs were all about. That was where all the immigrants came, and they kind of stuck together in their
Nice
local.
shirt, Janice.
That's awesome. Even on the back says "La La." No, it should have said "La La Land."
Well, I'd change my name if they were going to do that. Then,
Yeah,
but
I want one of those. I'm getting one. I'm getting one.
That's a cool
Anyway,
shirt.
James G also in the house. What's up, James G? Yeah, I want to hear Janice's story. Oh, okay. Janice, before you leave, why don't you tell your story real quick? But we're gonna have Michael B also here telling us part 2 or a little bit more about his experience living with bipolar disorder, as they call it, or it's an illness really, and how he was able to finally get diagnosed and get the help that he needed, and is actually, as you would know him, to giving back to the world through not just music now, but also is going to be partaking in a study to help people, deal with this disorder. And there are a lot of different things that help. And music is one of those things that can and cannot. Also, it can really disrupt your mood, right? And you can talk to us a little bit about that. And then I also have some clips out of some videos that I watched doing the research. You know, there are many pop music stars and others. I don't know if you know, but the singer, I think, of the Kinks was diagnosed with
Yep.
bipolar disorder in the early 70s. Hey, Jeff
Yep.
T, what's up? So there are a lot of people that we may not know. Selena Gomez just came out with a new documentary movie filmed by the director, I think, and producer of Truth or Dare, the Madonna story, right?
I did watch it.
And yeah, I bet you it's great. I'm looking forward to watching it, but it's on Apple TV, and then I'd have to get an Apple ID and become part of the Apple cult, and I just don't want to. But
I'm not sure it comes across as much as well as Selena might want it.
yeah,
and
that's the
also,
thing. Yeah, maybe people like
General
yourself
Hospital,
that.
General Hospital. There's one of the actors has bipolar, and he plays a bipolar person on the show too.
Oh,
But
wow.
another person on the show also had bipolar, but he decided that he didn't want to continue with it, and he
Hey, Will of the Dreamers Life.
ended it a couple of days ago.
I see. Wow.
So very sad.
That is very, very sad. And I don't know if you know this. This is fact. And Michael, I'm sure you can talk to this some. It's fact that people with bipolar disorder, especially if you're undiagnosed, especially then, and you're not getting help, are 20 to 30 times more likely to consider and commit suicide, right?
This guy
That's 20 to 30 times. That's
it's not even
that's the number.
how whether you do or whether you don't. It's how
Right.
often and how
You think
hard,
about it.
how difficult it is.
Yeah, right. And
It's not
so
whether you think of it or not. It's whether you're able to push it back.
right. So that's scary. That's scary. But when it comes to actually committing, the act, I mean, 20 to 30 times more likely to commit the act.
Yeah.
That's heavy. That's a
pretty
heavy,
bad.
and that's not out of your control. So the number one thing I want to start off with, and hope everyone comes away with this, is like a lot of mental disorders. We've seen it in famous movies. With Matt Damon. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault, man.
No, but you can get it back in your control if you want to.
Yes, and that's what's beautiful. That's the best part and why we have you here today so you can talk to us about that. But before we do, let's answer whose question was it about you want to hear Janice's story. Janice, what's your story?
About bipolar.
No, what's your story?
My situation, my 3 other situations.
What? Why are you here? What are you doing? What's it all about? What is
the
story of Janice Lala?
You guys, and I came in here because I wanted to tell my story about Lee, seeing Lee last night, and the
blamage letter.
The blamage letter, and getting tied off my back about moving in with me.
All right, and so no one's moving in with you. You get to stay solo.
Hopefully, in the future, maybe the right one will move in with me.
I see. Yeah. Well, not right now, anyway. But yeah.
Well,
take it slow.
Okay, that's Janice's story.
I'll take it right now.
Thank you for your story.
Sorry
about this, you guys. This is the stupidest
thing. I'm hopeful
thing,
about the future.
Fun. That's why we use this.
About the future.
That's wonderful, Janice. I'm glad that I called you the other day, right? Because Janice wasn't sure about sending the letter. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Just send it.
I might be very disappointed in that one too, because I don't think I could handle any more disappointments.
It's okay. It's okay to be disappointed. Life is not supposed to be all fun and games and everyone perfect and happy. Otherwise, we'd learn nothing and gain nothing. You know, the old saying of no pain, no gain there is some truth to that. Not like the kind of pain that Michael's gone through in his life that I think we can live without, you know. But at the same time, there have been some of these pop stars like Selena Gomez did speak in an interview about how I don't know if I would have, you know, created any of this stuff if it wasn't for that disorder. And in some ways, it's the most debilitating and scary thing in her life, but it's also what makes her her. Another pop star or rock and roll star, I think he sang with Creed, I'm forgetting his name, also talks. Yeah, yes. He also has music out about it and whatnot too. Mm-hmm. You know, the bottom
and
line,
we all saw him flame out too. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like,
oh yeah,
he was on top of the world, and then he did some weird.
Yeah, it's almost.
He did some really weird interviews on MTV, and it was just strange. And they kind of pushed him away.
Yeah, because you know you can't control the manic, you know, things that happen, and that's what happens with bipolar disorder. So, Michael, why don't we have you jump in and describe, you know, type 1 and type 2, if they call it that, or you know, number 1 or number 2. You want to give people a rundown of it, or you want me to do that, or
whatever.
Go for it.
Yeah, like type 1, you end up with psychosis. So they consider it kind of a more intense version of bipolar, but
longer lasting.
No, it's more intense.
Periods.
It's more
intense.
And
it's more intense too. They say that
and
they diagnose it with like over 7 days is what is like type 1, right?
Less. Let me explain.
Go.
So
I do this. I know I'm bad.
No, it's not longer. It's not shorter. It's different. So what they get is they add psychosis. So like, I think I'm going to save the world. And I saw green on that sign. So that means go. Like somebody literally just told me go. So some people are spiritual. Some people, you know, take it with a hero bent.
Grandiosity.
Yep. Exactly. And then other people think I'm going to quit my job, and they do. They don't just think about it. They actually quit.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, he literally like sold everything he had, and another friend racked up $15,000 in power tools because he quit his job. You know, like it's awful. Fortunately, I've never done anything that bad. You know, I got equipment all over the walls and stuff. But other than that, you know, I have type 2. So with type 2, what happens is you get the grandiosity, and you want to build businesses and music and be creative all the time, but you don't sleep, and it's bad when you're in the hypomania. Hypo means under, so it actually means under the type 1, which is the psychotic one, or the hands. But you spend more time in depression as well when type 2, and that's what I have, which is not cool. So you spend like 2 months, 2 months, a month, 2 months, 3 months sometimes in depression. And some people cycle faster. So sometimes you cycle within a single day. You'll be up in the morning and then completely like screaming at everybody and depressed in the afternoon. You know, like It's unbelievable. But then it has to do with circadian rhythm and a bunch of things that we can
Yes.
talk about in a minute, which is why we're
Right.
here.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have a
So
question for you.
one thing. Go ahead,
I have,
Janice.
I have a question, Michael.
Sure.
How much of the stuff is situational too? Could things have happened in your life to make you go to the other side?
Oh yeah, like if I smoke tobacco, I'll go up.
Because yeah,
And it's within, like I can feel the energy change in my body. Although with the therapy I'm on now, I'm doing better, so it's not as strong. But there was like even 6 months ago, I would know like, ooh, my energy just changed. Uh-oh. And I can tell up and down. But at first I could tell when I'd switch from up to down. But now I can do a little bit of both now, but they're getting smaller. So it's harder for me to detect it. But yes,
So,
there are
so
triggers
nothing.
all over the place.
So nothing happens in your life to make
No, I'm agreeing with you,
break you
Janice.
down.
I'm agreeing with you. Like if I have a stressful situation, like I get a bad piece of mail with a big bill I didn't expect or something like that, literally like that can send me into anxiety and stress, and then that has a physiological impact on me that you might not have as badly, you know.
So that's probably
right.
why sometimes it's hard to diagnose.
Yeah, because when I went in for my ADHD diagnosis, I was looking for bipolar, and I had been asking for decades for it because I know what it is, and I know I have it. I always have, but it took decades for them to finally do it. And the lady gave me an ADHD diagnosis because I was hypomanic and I was in a great
Mm,
mood that day because I was
right.
actually seeing someone. I thought, great, I'm
They're
finally
gonna
seeing a
fix me.
doctor, and I felt great. And she's like, "Yeah, you don't have that. You have
Yeah.
ADHD." She was right, but she was wrong too. She gave me
Right.
medicine that made me
And
sick.
that might have sent you into the other direction too,
Yes, the
because of that,
medicine
because
the
of what
medicine was wrong.
she said.
Now, let me ask you something then, Michael. What's your opinion on how the medical system itself misdiagnoses people? Because number one, they're not taking the amount of time they need to really figure out what's going on with
Well,
you. They don't
it's
ask
not.
you enough questions and be one-on-one with you. And a medical person is giving you medication on something that perhaps isn't going to work for the mental
Yeah,
state, and they don't have like the best. When I studied psychology in the college I went to, one of the best examples of how medicine should be done was where when there was somebody that was there for some reason, especially if it was an emergency or some psychotic situation or some break where somebody was needing to be really looked at, there was a team of doctors, and there was like 6 or 7 of them. They all had their own different specialties, everything from neurochemistry and everything from like psychiatric to to psych not psychiatric, but psychology. Well, okay. So there's when I was studying, things were diverging, and that's kind of why I stopped in a way a little bit. I was just a little bit disenfranchised on. I had to choose from either psychiatry or psychology. In other words, one that's more talk therapy and the other one's more we'll just give you drugs, and those have kind of converged a little bit now, more so since then. So that's a good thing since the last like 10 plus years. But the bottom line is that for a while there, those people were against each other, not working together. And it's a problem in when you have a system where people are breaking down into specialties if they're not working together in teams to solve a problem like what you had, because they don't recognize some things that a professional in that particular field would recognize, right?
yeah. No, I mean they all knew what I didn't know, and they should have told me was we're going to give you meds, and if the meds interact with you badly, we're going to try a second one. And if that
Hmm.
med interacts with you a second time, then we might give you a third one. And if the third one fails, then we might actually believe you have bipolar because they use that to actually diagnose you. They don't tell
Yeah,
you they're
so
going
they
to
have
put
to
you
go
through
through.
hell for six
Hmm.
months and end up in the hospital. But
Wow.
they do,
Yeah.
but because I was never that sick until I took those meds. And
Hmm.
it would the same cycle would happen over the years. I'd go in, I'd say, hey, like life is kind of stressful. I need help, I think, and I have to admit it. But it wasn't so bad. I still kept my job, my family, everything like that. And if you're losing your job and you can't stay in a relationship and things like that, then they look at that and go, oh, your illness is really severe. So it's also a matter of severity. So but they did it to me on purpose. It wasn't a misdiagnosis. It was
It was a
a
test.
you
I
haven't
see.
crossed the
Interesting.
threshold yet.
Yeah. All right.
Where we can diagnose you, and that's the
That's
problem.
shocking to me. I have to say that's shocking to me, considering that someone with that particular, you know, illness, right?
Yeah.
Bipolar has such a high, probability of suicide that shocks me that they would put you through something like that to see what you are. That to me is a really broken system. That's just my
Yeah,
perspective. I think it
but
needs
that
to
goes along with it
change
too,
big
because
time. Because
I
wow,
agree. I agree. But with me, I'm a little bit less severe, if that makes sense. Like, so even with the SDs and the SIs, that's what we call them. We don't say it out like you just did. We say SIs, STs,
hmm
and um, they're not as severe for me. I have them, but I can kind of laugh them off most of the time. You know what I mean?
right.
So
Well, I think it helps
that
that
it's
you are at a
figured in.
place now, though, right, where you have gotten treatment now
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
things
yeah,
are
yeah. But even
better,
when I was sick, I
right?
still knew that I wasn't going to let that win. You know what I mean? I'm never going to let the illness win. And I
Right,
think that's why I found my own treatment and didn't go traditional. You know what I
right.
mean? Because I wasn't going to accept traditional.
Yeah,
So
now
for
explain to people what you mean by your own treatment so they don't get the wrong idea, because there have been people in the past that have self-medicated in really bad ways, but you did it in a very positive and healthy way because you did your research. So,
yeah, but it's not proven yet, and that's what we're working on, and we're going to talk
hmm
about that. So what I found was that I could use lifestyle, would be mainly diet first, but also sleep, stress reduction, and a little bit of exercise in that order. And I did it in that order. And when I stopped eating carbs, like I eat no more than 20 a day, I got fat adapted ketosis, whatever, blah blah
right,
blah. And it changes the way my body and my brain are energized so that I actually can use my brain. And so instead of the sad, depressed, anxious person, now I'm more energized and I can work again. You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
So it's
and
good.
energized in a positive, non-manic way, which is a very
Yeah.
interesting part about this illness. Is
Yeah.
that if no one understands what mania is, you can look at some of the stars who had manic, finally out in public, the manic behavior woke them up to realizing, oh wow, yeah, you know what? It's not just some,
25, what's up?
I need this taken care of. I need to take this seriously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
But
what's
but
up,
the
guitar man?
therapies all have it because everybody's chemistry is a little different. You know what I mean?
Right,
So like one medicine might drop my blood pressure to a point where then I get dehydrated and I get dizzy and all that. And that same medicine people might take and it's nothing. You know what I mean? So like those psychiatric ones are all the same way. Everybody reacts a little bit
right.
differently, but on the same spectrum. You know?
And you also have to consider that when you're eating, taking supplements, taking medicines, whatever, how much sleep you're getting, all these things affect how your body's functioning and then absorbing and or properly or not properly using these chemicals that are part of our everyday life that we're absorbing, eating, drinking, whatever. And then like I wanted to talk about music as well as something that not only can be helpful, to be a creative person and get those feelings out and put it out in there, but it can also be very scary.
And it
Let
can be
me
science.
Yeah, let me show you guys a real quick 2-minute video here on this, and hopefully I don't get blocked out of from using somebody else's thing here. But I thought this was really, really eye-opening, and it does show a little bit about how someone can be affected by music. And so let me go ahead and click this on here. I'll get it to the beginning here, and then present this into the chat. Hopefully this all works quickly and easily. But yeah, it's fascinating how sometimes people, oh, music is a cure-all. No, not sometimes it can really shift your moods and take control you as well, which is not necessarily always a good thing, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and present this here. All right, here we go. Let me go ahead and hit the start on that.
Hey guys, it's Hannah. Music and bipolar
Hannah Bloom.
disorder. How the two connect. Because in my personal life, living with bipolar 2 disorder, I think there is a definite connection about the way it makes you feel, how it changes your mood, it makes you stimulated, makes you sad. And I also really want to hear your input as well, so please share that with me. For me, music is such a great outlet, number one, and it also kind of dictates my mood. When you live with bipolar disorder, of course, it's more extreme. I think everybody connects to music, but it really, really, really hits my emotions. I overanalyze the song about what they were talking about, what they were feeling. It makes me sad, or really pumped up rap music makes me angry or really stimulated, so much so that some nights I can't even sleep if I listen to a song with high energy. It helps me understand what my emotions are. I think a lot of people with depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder have this relationship with music. And I really want to hear your experience with this as well and what you think. So please, again, share that below or do a response video, and I will see you next week. Bye.
And a lot of these, just so you guys know, a lot of these videos that I show, I try to get the links into the description. So I believe I have the link in the description.
What's her name?
So Hannah Bloom.
Cool. Thank you.
And I think she's an actress or perhaps even a musician. Yeah. I don't know. I've never been a celebrity hound or someone who follows celebrity much. So I don't usually know some of these people. But of course, people like Mariah Carey, for example. Here's another one if you want to see another one about her talking about, let me open this, about finally realizing that she does need to get some help. And
I have a bipolar Mariah story right after.
Okay, you want to tell it while I get this set up? Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Like I told you, I have a friend I used to work with that had bipolar when I was in my 20s, which is 30 years ago. So we used to listen to Mariah Carey's first album while we worked, because I love her voice. It's not my kind of music, but I love her voice. Like not the whistle tones, but just I love that she can hit it. But it's just to hear the range and all that. She has a great soulful voice, and that first album has a lot more of that. When he went in the hospital, I went and visited him, and I brought him my cassette, and I gave it to the desk, and they wouldn't let me visit that day. And that was technically the first time I was in a mental hospital because I was visiting. So I gave it to my friend Tim, and it really meant something to him. And we've been really strong friends for decades since because of that tape.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the great things I think about like what you're doing here too, Michael, is I want to applaud you first off for your, being brave, because, not everyone can handle talking about this either. And that's another thing about this disorder that, why it's so difficult for people to get help sometimes, because the stigma around this in any mental disorder, but this especially, people misunderstand it. A lot of what you see in sometimes movies and other things are exaggerated in a really bad way sometimes, right? And that doesn't always help. So
Laz, we're a small family here. Everybody knows
we are here.
Everybody knows each other, right? Yeah. So like you guys saw me melt
That's
down.
what helps,
So
but some people don't understand it. They just like waft it off like, oh, that guy's crazy, oh my God, and then they don't know what to do with it, because they get afraid, and might even be reflective of sometimes their own behavior. That's one thing that a lot of people do in real life. You notice sometimes what they're afraid of is what they're afraid of facing themselves. And so they
like the liars call the liar a liar.
Exactly.
But if I'm gonna melt down in public, I might as well talk about it in public too, right?
Not everyone. What I'm saying though, I totally admire the fact that what I'm saying is not everyone can handle talking about it, because it triggers those things again. Just like we talked about with music, right? And that's something else that with bipolar disorder triggers, like what you're going to talk about with light, for example.
The reason they don't talk about it is stigma, though. They don't talk about it because of the stigma, and it's huge.
Yeah. And when I was studying at the College of San Mateo psychology, one of the things that I was really trying to break the walls down on was stigma, and about not just mental illness, but just, mental, emotional, otherwise, health. Because just like your body, your brain, and your mind, and your thoughts, I mean, to think that we are 100%, totally healthy all the time is nuts. That's what's nuts, is the expectation that we're all perfect. That's nuts to me. And then once we are able to accept the fact that we're not, and then be more understanding of the differences we have, what makes Selena Gomez a great pop star is her bipolarism, because she would never have done what she's done if it wasn't for that. She says that stuff, Mariah Carey is the same thing. Any of these other stars, of art, what wasn't talked about much in his day, but Pollock, the painter. I mean, that guy, they hint at it in the movie about him, but they don't directly go at it.
You can't actually diagnose somebody that's dead.
Right. No. Right. But why is he dead? And then you look at the statistics. But here, let's watch this real quick. Add this to the stage here, and here we go.
Revealing her secret struggle with bipolar disorder for the first time.
Let me know if it's loud enough, you guys. The last one was clipping.
20 years, and Amy is here with more on why she's ready to share her story now. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning to you, Michael, and everyone. And there has long been concern about Mariah Carey's mental health following
it's a little old,
series
5 years or more.
high-profile public incidents. She says these have been the hardest couple of years I've been through, and now she is opening up about it after finally agreeing she needed help. She's pop music royalty with a one-of-a-kind vocal range. Mariah Carey's been ruling the charts for nearly 3 decades, with 18 #1 singles to her name.
We're probably going to get copyright strike
But
for
through
some
her
of this.
successful career, fans have watched her personal ups and downs, more recently documented on her reality show Mariah's World, and even this bizarre 2016 performance on New Year's Eve amid technical difficulties.
We didn't have a sound check for this New Year's, baby. That's okay, you guys.
Now, Carey revealing she's been hiding a secret struggle for nearly 17 years, a battle with bipolar II disorder. The singer-songwriter opening up to People magazine, saying, "Until recently, I lived in denial and isolation and in constant fear someone would expose me. It was too heavy a burden to carry, and I simply couldn't do that anymore." Back in 2001, Carey received her bipolar II diagnosis after suffering a very public emotional and physical breakdown. The star ultimately hospitalized. The disorder is characterized by unusual shifts between mood, energy, activity levels, and the ability to carry out day-to-day tasks.
No, Cindy, one more thing. And we give them positivity.
Let's go.
That was the same year of her whirlwind promotional tour for her feature film Glitter, which fizzled in the box office, and even rumors of an alleged suicide attempt, which her team has denied in the past. She spoke about her nonstop lifestyle on The View.
I never took a break. I never learned how to just put myself before my career. I just didn't. I just started making records basically right out of high school and never stopped.
Now, Carey says she's receiving various forms of treatment to help cope with her disorder, including medication, saying, "I'm exercising, getting acupuncture, eating healthy, spending quality time with my kids, and doing what I love, which is writing songs and making music." Despite her sometimes tough journey, the music powerhouse is finding her inner strength with a positive outlook. "I believe that everything happens for a reason, so maybe it just took me going through one of the hardest couple of years that I've been through in order to come out in a positive place on the other side." Now, one of the reasons why Mariah says she is sharing her story, she is hopeful that, and she says, quote, "We can get to a place where the stigma is lifted from people going through anything alone.
Huge.
It can be incredibly isolating. It does not have to define you, and I refuse to allow it to define me or control me." So she is opening up, and I think probably feels very free now that she's shared this.
I'm sure she's taking over. And we're going to bring in the writer of the piece, People's Editor-in-Chief, Jess Cagle. And
This is worth the length.
By surprise that she's saying this. So when was she first diagnosed?
Well, she was first diagnosed, as Amy said, back in 2001. And she just did not want to believe it. You know, at that time, it was a very well-publicized physical and emotional breakdown that she had.
10 years
and
after
she just
her
didn't want to
big
believe
breakout.
it. And in her
Right.
mind, although it's wrong, of course, she thought that there was such a stigma attached to having bipolar disorder that she would, that her career would be in.
So she didn't get medicated then?
She did not
No.
get medicated then.
Wow, so 20
medication,
years.
can you imagine?
Why is she now coming out today, now?
So she, as you say, she went through the hardest couple of years that she's been through. And I think, we saw some of that. There was a brief engagement. There was an reality show. There was some professional upheaval. And I think finally she got to a place where she decided, I need to get help. And so she's recently been treated. She's in therapy. She's on medication that's working very well. And she got to a place where she was able to talk about it. She made peace with it. And also, she just didn't want to have this secret hanging over her, because part of the struggle over the past few years that she was so afraid that somebody in her orbit was going to tell this story for her. And so she took the opportunity to tell the story herself. She was very inspired by other people who've talked about mental problems that they've had. And she really does want to help people and kind of set herself free.
Yeah, this is exactly what Amy was saying. And it is, when you're holding the secret and then you reveal it, it's very freeing. But you keep saying about how she was fearful that it would hurt her career.
I got tons of comments.
Hearing from people,
I'm looking forward to
talking about this. And somebody even said, I've always loved her music. I didn't like her, but now I understand and respect her.
Right. I think it's going to help fans understand her. It's going to give people a lot more respect for her, because this is a brave, generous thing for her to do. And it will also help her get back into the studio and make music, which is what she really wants to do.
Robin, what do you say? What'd your mama say?
Make your message your message. And that's what she's
That's
doing.
what she's
That's what she's doing. And it is. It's going to really help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Always good to see you, Jeff.
Nice to see you guys. Thanks.
All right. So there we go. So
First,
comment away, my friend.
I got to say one thing before I
Hey,
get
Dwight,
into Mariah
David.
Carey. But am I on mute? All right.
No.
I got to say one thing before I go into Mariah Carey. That I am treated by a psychiatrist. So when I say I don't take meds, it's only because the meds didn't work for me, but I am treated by a psychiatrist. And what I'm doing, some doctors consider internet, fad, but it's being studied. So anyway, I just wanted to be clear about that.
That's good.
You don't want to go and do this jockeying on your own. You know what I mean? You got to have a nutritionist and a psychiatrist, because not everybody gets off meds right away. It can take 3 to 5 years before you can bring the meds down by doing a lifestyle stuff. So to Mariah, bravo for her. It's great. Like you got people like Kanye that melt down in public and everybody kind of knows, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to tell anybody because we all know, you know what I mean?
Right.
But we melted down at the same time, which is funny. But anyway, Mariah said things that I would have never paid attention to in the past. She said, I'm taking care of myself. I'm reducing stress. I'm eating well. I'm getting sleep. I'm spending time with my family, and I'm exercising. Those are the same lists that I just said at the beginning. And I would have never, ever, ever thought, because when you're sick and someone says, why don't you get out of bed? Why don't you go in the sun and get some sunshine? You don't want to hear anything, right? Because you're not feeling good. But in the reality is, if you do go out and do those things for a month, it might actually help you sleep, which will help you feel better.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then that helps you need less meds, or you have less symptoms and things like that. So bravo for her for saying that, because it would have completely gone over my head before. She didn't say anything about meds. That's not any of our business. That should be between her and her doctor. So anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah. And I think like what she was saying, which was a big part of like even Selena Gomez coming out with her, facing it publicly as well. It wasn't meant to be. She was going to be doing a biopic kind of like documentary, like Madonna's, but then it turned out to, so reveal so much of the manic behavior that she's like, I gotta do this about this.
Can I ask you an impression, Janice and Laz?
Yes.
When you think of Selena Gomez, say, because she had that documentary, I know you haven't seen it yet, but you've seen her. You've seen Kanye. You've seen Kurt Cobain, right?
Only in video.
Mariah. Is there one thing that you think they all have in common? If you had to characterize them, is there something? Like I kind of want to give it away and say, hey, do you think this? But at the same time, I'm like wondering if it's obvious.
No.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and say it. We're all a little bit immature.
I wouldn't have said that at all. I think that I think that the grandiosity part of it might be
true.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's okay, because I think immaturity is like, okay, mature. First off, what does that mean? Define that, right?
No,
It's all
you
information based,
struggle
you know.
with things that you probably should have got over when you were a teenager. Like
So I think I see what you
for
mean.
different
Okay,
people, it's
so
different things. It could be relationships. It
I
could
would be in
be dealing
trouble.
with money. It could be dealing with
Gotcha.
money. It could be anything like that, or just acting like an adult when you should be an adult. You know what I mean? Like, if I think of Mariah, I think, oh, the spoiled brat, blah, 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 blah. She complained about this and that. You know, it's like, or Kanye too, same thing. You know, it's like they seem like petulant children.
I see
When
what
you
you're
look
saying.
at their
Okay.
career aspect and the things we see about the dramas that surround them,
Yeah,
but
like
it's too bad because it's not that. It's actually they're struggling. They're actually struggling with things they didn't develop as much as other people.
well,
Because
one of the
when
things
the
that
yeah,
let me say this. One of the things that Selena Gomez talks about in this interview, and I can play that video too, but it's not as long as the last one, but there's another one where she talks about the documentary where it's way longer, but they're all in the the description if you guys want to watch those, and then check out her movie Myself, what was it called? Me and My Mind. Yeah. My Mind and Me or something like that. Anyway, but what I think, like what you're talking about there about maturity thing, um that's manic behavior, right?
yeah.
So it doesn't mean that they're not mature and
No.
grown up.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to
But it
differentiate,
looks like
Laz.
that. Yeah, I see
That's
what
what
you're
I'm
saying.
trying to
Yeah.
differentiate. You're
Gotcha.
saying that's the illness. I'm saying no. I'm
It's a
saying
symptom though.
no.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right.
Underdeveloped skill that they lack. That's all it is. And it can be if you don't know how to handle money, or if you don't know how to handle relationships as a responsible adult, things like or substance abuse or holding down a job. When we were developing as teens and 20s, you know, like little kids and
Gotcha.
teens and 20s,
Gotcha.
we didn't develop some of those skills.
Do
And
you
so when
think though that
things
this is
come out, you
something
add
that's
anxiety, add
controllable?
stress.
Like, is that something that is it a chemical imbalance that's produced by your body out of your control? Because like what
No.
I try to relate it to is that, okay, we're all pretty much living in the
Well,
same world with pretty much the same environment, exposed to pretty much the same, you know, our perceptions are pretty much the same.
right.
So what's different? What's the
Well,
difference? And then the
well,
difference, there's chemistry,
there's
I think,
for
part of
bipolar, there's a couple of theories. One is a potassium dysregulation. So
Mhm.
when you're mitochondria, you don't process energy the same way
the
as
same
everybody
way.
else.
Yeah, and that's
And that's
huge.
why possibly I'm so sensitive to, like, if I eat too much carbs, then I get inflamed because
Right.
that's how I am. That's my body.
Right.
So that's unique to me. But
And that's why it's
it could be
working what you're
because
doing
of
with
that
your diet.
potassium. Right. And
Mhm.
and cells are in your brain, and your brain doesn't work if your cells aren't happy and they're not energized well. So the same thing with the rest of your body, your kidneys, your liver, everything is like that. So it just depends how it manifests. But the development is a bigger deal, and it's different than the physiological thing that made you not sleep or not handle stress right, or
Right.
maybe I got picked on more because I get emotionally dysregulated when someone attacks me, and then they see that reaction and they do it again
And then
because
they
it's
do it
funny,
again because it's yeah.
and it builds and it snowballs on itself, and then I
Right.
become that person. You know what I mean? It's half my fault because
Not really, not your
immature,
fault, but it
emotionally
happens to
dysregulated.
you. Yeah.
But I need to learn how to know where the reactions are, what it means, you know, and it's
Yeah.
tricky. But if you
I
don't
think it's
sort it
very
out,
tricky. Yeah.
you just want a pill. Because if you
That's
go the
the
way
other
you're
side of it.
talking about it,
Lithium and things like that. Yeah.
right? But the
Mhm.
last, what you're saying is, if I'm physiologically broken and that explains everything, then I could take a pill and it'll change it and everything will be fine. It's not true.
No,
I
I
believe
didn't say it that way, but
right,
yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
saying that goes along with it. I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm saying
Right.
that old thinking goes along with that. So
I
like,
think that's what's changing and needs to change in our healthcare system. Like I was bringing that up. Part of the problem with stigma about any kind of illness, is people are afraid of losing their jobs or their careers
yeah,
or whatever. I mean, women were afraid to be able to be pregnant when they wanted to because they wouldn't be able to continue their careers, for example, and things that they were very passionate about. So, and that's not like, having a child is
yeah,
like a part of life, right? I mean, so there's so many stigmas around so many different conditions in life, and you know, I think acceptance is like part of what Mariah Carey was afraid of. What if she's not going to be accepted? You know, what if she's, you know, all these things. That's a big part of why people act the way they do. They want to be accepted and be part of a community or whatever, right? And not be thought of in some ugly or different way than they'd want to be thought of, you know. And everyone wants to be loved, and I think, you know, understanding and trying to, all of us trying to be not tolerant, because I hate that word tolerance. I hate it's another bad word.
Yeah, but
I
it's hard to keep.
disapprove of
It's
the
hard to
word
keep.
tolerance. I think tolerance means that, oh, we're putting up with something that we don't like,
Yep.
rather than understanding and accepting it for what it is. That's what I believe is more helpful in working together towards living a better life and having a better world that we can all share.
Yeah.
It's acceptance of things as they are, and learning and having more knowledge about things. And that's what I love about science. Science is about proving truth of things. It doesn't mean that what someone knows right now as science is the fact right now. It's what we know. Science is always evolving, and that's what's wonderful
And
about
it's
science.
happening.
But it doesn't, oh yeah, and it doesn't always have the answer you're looking for. People sometimes expect too much of our brain. You know, they expect too much. But collectively, if we put our minds together collectively, look what we can achieve.
Yep.
And I think that most problems that we have in the world, hunger, any of these things, even the climate problem and whatever else, environmental catastrophe you want to call it, not climate change, or call it global environmental catastrophe, call it that. You know, I don't care what you call it, it's happening. Whether you want to accept it or not, we're part of the reason for it happening. And collectively, if we put our minds and our conscious thoughts and stuff together, we can solve great problems, you know.
And don't worry, you can make money doing it too.
And you can look at they have a giant there's a giant plastic eating machine out there in the Pacific Ocean now that's making money off eating up the plastic that's floating like a giant, magnificently ugly giant island out in the Pacific Ocean. But the bottom line is, you know, we can solve these things, but the number one step towards that is knowledge about it, and accepting
and human
new knowledge about
ingenuity
it.
and perseverance
and accepting new knowledge, because part of the problem with science is people get married to what they know in science, and sometimes they won't accept the new science because, you know, 10-15 years ago, everyone would have been laughing about this gut health thing. Remember, there was a radio station here, Pacifica Radio, that was talking with this guy who was talking all about what's going on in the gut and how that's affecting everything, and people thought he was a quack. Well, you know, 15 years later now, what is everyone talking about? Because they did more studies and more science based on it, and now they know better, you know. So it's really hard to find acceptance sometimes, because you have to prove
pullback
things.
from climate. I admire that. You did a good job.
Thank you.
So, Laz,
well,
you're doing
you know,
a
I've always
great
been
lead-in.
environmental. Yes, go ahead. So bring
You're
on
doing a
the
great lead-in.
circadian rhythm thing and what you're
I
going to
don't-
be doing.
I don't have anything specific to announce because I don't know a whole lot about what's going on. But I am going to be involved in a study in some way for the next 5 years with the University of Edinburgh, I believe. And I don't know how small a part it is, but I'm going to be maybe making music that's going to end up in a study that has to do with sleep and light and bipolar. And it's a funded study, and it's happening, and we just kind of had a hello meeting, and I think I'm going to be creating some music that they're going to put in front of study subjects and do something with. And there's an AI component for game engines and things like that, which excites me because I'm a game developer.
Right.
You know, I just
That's something that we still need to talk about off air at some point, because I want to build that game, bro. You know,
Yeah, everybody
talked to
does.
a lot of other people about this game idea, and they love the idea.
Yeah, as
Gamers
everybody's got a
especially
game
think
idea.
it's a great idea, right? But
Everybody's got a game idea.
Bring it into fruition. I've had the idea since 2015.
I know.
2016 is I went to the GDC over here in San Francisco and
Oh,
learned
isn't
as
that a
much as I
blast?
could. Oh wow, it was fantastic. Yeah.
People are showing up outside. So I'm going to leave very soon. But I
Yeah.
want to say
Thanks for
thank you
showing up,
having me
Janice.
on. And Michael, we have to jam again because I really
Yes.
enjoyed when we were jamming on New
Let's do
Year's
that
Eve.
together, you guys.
I did
Remember
too,
New Year's
Janice.
Eve? We have to do that again. Give me a messenger chat one day. and we'll
All
Absolutely.
right, this one's for Janice on the way out. Hopefully it works.
Thank you.
That's her favorite
Have a good block party.
soundbox sound.
Have a good day, everybody.
Have a
We'll
great
see you
day.
again.
Thanks for
Ciao.
joining, Janice. You rock. Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Janice is the best.
Yeah. The hostess with the mostest. So yeah, man. So why don't we open it to that a little bit if you want to.
University of
Talk a little bit about
Edinburgh is where some studies are going on with bipolar. So they're trying to make excuse me, therapeutic ketosis a standard treatment, or at least to be considered by an actual psychiatrist that can actually say this is proven. They want to do randomized controlled studies where they can follow people with these things, and they're happening. And it takes time to be able to prove it as a proven thing. Because right now, like Dr.
Right.
Westman, he's Eric Westman. He's in North Carolina. He treats people with obesity mostly and diabetes. And he considers what I'm doing internet keto because there's no science for him to back up. And he's also a researcher too. He comes from the Dr. Atkins family of researchers.
Right.
So he's also a clinician and treats people. So that's what I like, is to find a doctor to follow that is, not afraid of looking at new stuff, but also is based in science. But he treats people and does the science. And that's what some of the people in Edinburgh are doing.
That's
as
great.
well.
Now remind everyone who wasn't here the first time you came here, you actually had to track down a doctor and
Oh my
force
God.
him almost to finally work with you to help
Yes.
you get to where you are. But what I think is beautiful about that story is that now you're taking that experience and you're going to be now exposing that, to the world so that the rest of the world can understand how hard it is for someone like yourself who's struggling with something like this, with symptoms and all that, to try to get help and diagnose. It's like, just to get, a back pain treated through Kaiser today, it's like, my God, why do I have to go through all this just to get treatment for this?
So
I
they can
should,
kick the cost down the road.
yeah, well,
That's
but that's
why.
the funny thing is, see, the system is upside down because it's not treating the patient, it's paying the insurance companies is what
Kicking
it's
the
all about.
can.
And they're just kicking the can around so they can make enough money to keep,
Push
living
the
off
bigger
of what
cost
they're
further
doing.
away, and maybe you'll die and we won't have to pay it.
I don't even think it's that
I do.
diabolical. I think
I
that
do.
I don't. You know what I think it is? I think it's more just simple greed and people wanting to make
No,
a
that's
buck
not
off the bottom
diabolical.
line.
That's the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
That's the spreadsheet. That's not diabolical. That's the spreadsheet.
You know what I mean? It's you could break it down and say it's evil and blah blah blah, but
No, I don't say that. I say it's the
yeah,
spreadsheet.
yeah,
It's about money.
right. Yeah, it's about money, and that's what's sad, and that's why people like who was a brilliant eye surgeon, Dr. Dean Adele, left being a brilliant eye surgeon because he says I can't help people the way I should be able to help people. It's not allowed, so I'm not doing it anymore. And he went to work with his plumber brother as a plumber.
Yeah.
Until he finally got, talked with someone who helped him, put this show together that became a national, syndicated.
I also listened to that show, and Laz is
love
not
that guy.
saying it, but both of us have a different eye that we can't see out of. And so when it comes to eye stuff like Dr. Dean Adele,
Oh my God. I
know what I
learned
mean?
about why I have a messed up left eye. They oxygenated me at birth and burnt
me
burnt the muscle in my left eye. Luckily,
Me
they didn't
too.
completely blind me.
That's why
because
this eye goes
doctors
like,
didn't know
you know,
better.
and this one they fixed,
Yeah.
but this one they didn't.
Yeah.
'Cause
I've
I
had
woke-
surgery on this, but it was only cosmetic and it hadn't really helped that much,
This one would be crooked too if they hadn't done it.
Right. Yeah. It's fascinating stuff though. And then how does that
I
affect
shut
you
off.
throughout your life, right? I had to wear an eye patch in elementary school.
I did too.
You have to face all these other dilemmas that come at you.
They wanted me to
I
turn
remember
this eye back on.
Yeah, I
and I
love
didn't.
sports, but I couldn't do sports unless it was something like running, and I just run faster than anyone I could possibly run. I studied ways of breathing techniques and stuff. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I remember, learning about Bruce Lee using breathing technique to build power and
Yeah.
stamina. And so I was
in-
doing that kind of stuff when I was like a preteen, and I could outrun the dudes because I could keep going because I did these breathing techniques.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Anyway, go
But
on.
in the
So tell
chat,
us.
they're talking about music. I think that's kind of on
All right.
topic. I think
Mhm.
if you scan through, but it's like let's talk about some other artists. Like
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix has that song "Manic Depression," which you don't call it that anymore.
Right.
But I love that song. Like it's
Right.
totally cool.
Manic and
Yep.
depression sounds like this bipolar disorder, doesn't it?
Yep. And you got Lithium with Kurt Cobain.
Right. How many people were self-medicating? So when you look at artists of all kinds, why is it that so many great artists are self-medicating with drugs? It wasn't like, back in the day, it was like, oh, those druggies, those drug addicts, those,
Yeah.
again, stigma, people afraid of accepting something different than what they understand. They just see it as something scary, and they don't look at, okay, this might be symptoms of something else. The behavior might be symptoms of something. Let's try to find out what the symptoms are leading us to and try to discover what we can do to help these people. Because ultimately, I've always thought, and this is what I hated about, and I use that word again, the pull yourself up by the bootstraps Reagan era kind of mentality, is that if you don't help these people, you close all these mental hospitals, and there were reasons why some of those hospitals should have been shut down, and they were doing a lot of bad practices and stuff there too. But then you improve them. You do like what Sweden has done. Instead of shutting them down, you make them better. They have the smallest recidivism rate in theft and crime. Why? Because they actually do help people find a way to live a life that's productive rather than having to steal and do that.
Yeah.
When we see all this crime happening right now,
But Les,
why is it happening?
Let's think about like Kurt Cobain, right?
Right.
Now, if Kurt didn't have his illness, I'd be happy for him. Honestly, like, you know what I mean? I'd rather not know who Kurt was and have him had his baby
Still alive.
and married and be still alive.
Right.
We don't know who he is. I would much rather that be the
Me
case,
too.
right? But he wanted to be famous. He didn't, as much as we like to think that, that grunge came to kill old music and all that, and it was genuine. Kurt literally wanted to be the biggest band in the world, and that was in his head.
And he was.
And he did, and he got it, and he did it. But if he wasn't sick and didn't follow that drive to just keep creating, and no matter how sick he was, he just kept pushing. And because it came out, we responded to it, and then he grew, and we responded to it, and he grew, and it was great. But it's basically the illness that we're seeing. I really believe that. I think he's brilliant, and others are brilliant too, because they were allowed to go down that road, but it essentially killed him.
Not only that, though, the other thing too is that the world eats this stuff up because it's this kind of manic behavior and all this kind of stuff. The world eats it up, and part of the reason why grunge took over, from the hair metal and the 80s rock and roll times, was because that some of that was so unreal to so many people. They're like, man, this is every day's a party kind of stuff. Come on, man, that's not real life. I mean, we're facing war here, in the Middle East, and all this stuff's going on. Come on, 92 with everything that was happening, the first Gulf War and all that. I mean, it's like, come on, man, this is none of this stuff. Life's a party stuff. No, it's not. From some of us are suffering, some of us can't find jobs, some of us don't have, so grunge actually kind of started to reflect society and the world. And when I heard Kurt Cobain's not the first album, but when I heard Nevermind from front to back, because I like listening to albums like from front to back
me
the
too.
first time. And when we say front to back, by the way, that means like a record. You have one record, it's a vinyl, and you flip it and you hear the backside too. So from the beginning to the end, every track. But when I heard that, my response to my girlfriend at the time was like, this guy is screaming out for help, man. This album is like a screaming cry to the world, like, shit,
it's genuine.
Help me.
It's genuine.
I don't know what to do, but man, it's like I'm on a plane and all these. It's like, oh my God, like the sound of it too was just Wow, what a scream for help. And nobody helped him. Well, because one, you got to help yourself, but secondly, the money machine of the music industry, and that's something else I kind of alluded to a little bit in the description, is that the music industry itself, pushes these people. Oh, you're not good enough. Try harder. Dress this way.
He wanted it.
And
He wanted it.
of course he wanted it, but at the same time he hated it. It's like what? Have you ever read?
No,
I love
no,
some sports like
no.
tennis. Well, this way, okay, in this way. Did you know that Andre Agassi hated tennis?
Yeah.
He hates tennis. His first line in his book, Open, is about I hate tennis. And it's a fascinating, thing, how the thing that made you successful and great in the eyes of the world is something that from the beginning you kind of hated, but you had to do, and you did it, because you were expected to. So there's a lot of that in the music
That's
industry
different,
too,
though.
right?
That's different.
The
That's
fear of
different.
losing it once you've got it.
I think that's different, honestly.
Right, it
Kurt,
is. No, he's
Kurt,
not
Kurt was
bipolar.
driven
Yeah.
to be big and could ignore all the other stuff. I don't think the tennis player, I don't know, but it sounds like he grew out of tennis before it grew out of him.
No, it was
So
right from the very beginning as a child.
that's
Yeah,
fine, but
yeah.
but he chased perfection. That's different. That's entirely different.
Yeah, you have to read that book. Read that book.
It-
If you like reading books,
okay.
read that book. Yeah. Yeah, you'll get a different perspective.
But I don't get
This is
that
what
from
happens.
Kurt at all. I don't get that
Yeah.
from Kurt at all. Kurt
Yeah.
wanted to express his creativity and be known for it like his heroes. And he believed it was possible to the point where he made it happen.
Right.
And that's the difference between that tennis player and Kurt and another person. Is
Well,
they
you
pushed
find
and
you
pushed and
might
pushed and pushed.
find like your reason, like he found his reason, to continue on to do that. Yeah. Yeah, let me just address something here that's in the chat because I don't want to ignore it, obviously. But Keith, I'm very sorry to hear that,
Yeah.
And that's the worst thing about this society and the world society, if you want to call it, the civilized world that we live in.
Yeah.
There is plenty of resources and money to take care of everyone if we wanted to. That's fact, okay? The fact that we aren't doing that is not our fault either. But we have to fight for it, I guess. And what I mean by fight, I don't mean physically fight. I mean find ways to convince those who believe for some reason that their control of everything is the right way and they should have all the money and we should just work for them as slaves, are wrong, because it's not going to end well for them either, or for the world or anything, if we don't work together to solve all these problems as a collective consciousness of sorts. So I'm not talking about socialism or any of that stuff. I'm talking about, maybe the Star Trek kind of world where, we don't have money and we work towards the greatest endeavors that we can with all of our heart and soul and mind and everything, right? Wouldn't
Yeah,
that
we
be
can
great?
all agree that medicine should be separate, I think.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the best things that happened in the recent decades, is that we have a healthcare bill of rights now, thankfully. And it wasn't just one president or somebody who pushed that through. Congress had to vote on it, and it got voted on. So thankfully, there were enough smart people out there to push for this and make it happen. And even though it's still a struggle to keep it on the books and keep it there, it's still, just like the Constitution of the United States, it's a shining example to the world of that we can make the world and our lives a better place if we fight for these things. But it's a constant struggle. Freedom of any kind and all this stuff, it's like you had to fight for your health, and you got there to a degree. Now you're finally being treated properly for your
But I could have easily gone the other way.
Right.
And
So now talk about this study just a little bit more, because it's really
I
interesting.
don't know.
wanna
I
talk
don't
about
really
light.
know much about it, but I'll talk. Yeah, let's talk about
Yeah,
what they're
about the
talking
light, about that
So
circadian.
the idea is that someone with bipolar may be sensitive, overly sensitive to light at night, and not produce melatonin because we had light exposure at night. And it could be a very low light, like it doesn't have to be very bright like the sun. And that because we don't get the right signaling, so we don't get melatonin, which then helps us sleep. And we're completely missing that. Once you miss sleep, then all the work that sleep was supposed to do to like fight inflammation or to clear glucose or whatever it was going to do, all the different things, or to sort some thoughts and file them in the right place and things like that. So if you had a thing that happened that day, your brain usually sorts it out and says, what do I need to remember? What do I need to
Right.
forget?
Right.
And if you don't do that, things don't get filed right. And if you add that to the energy deficit from
Right.
not sleeping or from not eating or from having too much stress and inflammation, all that crap, then your brain, takes those hits one by one, and then you end up sick.
Yeah, and sleep is another thing that I did do a show about it. I think if I didn't, I'll definitely do another show about that. There are some experts that are talking about sleep as being such a crucial part of not just health but longevity. And really, we need, as adult people, we need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. 6 hours is typically not enough. And some of those people that live off like Bill Clinton, 5 hours or 4 hours of sleep and stuff like that, I can't imagine with the amount of stress and the amount of work that someone like that has to complete in a day can properly function without proper sleep. And it makes me question whether or not that
That's what
belief in
caffeine and
yeah,
amphetamines are for.
but that's what they use perhaps to keep them going. But are they
Speed.
making good decisions then?
Probably not.
Probably not. And this
Hey,
is where I'm getting to, where we have to start to trust the science. In other words, trust facts that we know that that are provable.
yeah.
As we go forward, we have to always remember that science is never a static thing like, this is it from now on. No, it's constantly evolving and changing. We're learning more and more and more, and we have to be open to that, but we
Right.
have to test it. And what
So
science is the testing of that, right? And
somehow,
proving it.
yeah, right. Back to that. So somehow they're going to use two things. The light group is going to use art generated by AI for a specific purpose. So it's going to be like, make me art that blah blah evokes blah blah
Makes me
blah,
feel this way. Yeah.
and they're going to put it in front of bipolar people, and they're going to see what the reaction of seeing
Mhm.
certain things and has to do with their reaction to it. But they're also going to do music. So I think that's where I'm coming into it. So they're going to have that's what the ambient BD is going to study music. The Helios is light. So they're both studying a different aspect of bipolar, and they're the
I'm
same
curious, are they
university.
going to study music in like different types,
I'm not
rhythms, this,
sure.
that, and the other thing when it
I'll
comes
have
to
to
how those things affect, like the one gal in the first video talked about how this kind of
I'll have to
music will make
report
me feel
back. I
this
don't
way, that
know.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because one of the things like what we talked about, and I commended you on, is you're at a place now where you're probably less likely to be triggered by things.
Still happens.
Still happens, but
If
less
I smoke
likely.
a cigar,
Yeah.
I'll go up. And
Well,
then
yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about like, let's say music or even just light, and things like that. So you have to be aware of that. Like keep telling my sweetie, stop looking at your, at a certain time at night, we got to stop watching the TV and stop looking at our screens or
yeah,
phones
like
or whatever.
we have a LED light that you use to get daylight
Mhm.
when there's no daylight.
Mm.
And if I use it for more than 15 minutes, I feel a migraine coming on.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
I have to shut it off. And
Yeah.
so if that's and it doesn't happen to other people. So you know something's different,
There you go. There you go. So we went long on today's show, but I think that's okay. We started late.
Cool.
I had some things to do, and I
Can
think
I
it was
comment
worth going
on
long.
Brent's comment?
Please do.
Brent's saying he would have had a hard time in not punching the doctor.
Here's the
All right,
comment.
I had to tell you that before the second time in the hospital, I was calling the doctor to try to get medicine to calm me down. And that's all I wanted was something to calm me down. And I'm like, I ran out. I need this medicine that they gave me for emergencies, and it's like, it was a Thursday and my doctor was on vacation and the other one was not available. And I'm like yelling at the secretary, apparently, although I didn't think I was.
Right.
And when I hung up, I punched a hole in the fucking wall so hard. Oh man, that's
hold on. Let's see it. Anyway,
I went right through the
there's another one.
sheetrock.
There's
It was
another
like
one that I have here.
wham. So that's
I
the
think there's another
closest
one
I
I
ever
have
came
here.
to violence, because I would never hit anybody. I've never hit anybody in my life.
Yeah.
But I'll punch a wall or a window.
Man. Oh my God. Well, That's a bad thing to do. Don't do it.
No,
But
don't do
anyway,
it.
yeah. I mean, when I was younger, my brothers and I, mostly my brother John and I, fought because we were so competitive. and I pushed myself away from. I mean, I think competition's a healthy and good thing in some ways too. But man, sometimes I recoil from it because I'm just so tired of it. I'm just like, God, do we have to compete on everything? It's like, there's a healthy level of competition where it brings the best out of you, kind of thing. And I love that, in a sports situation, even in music, like somebody check this out. Oh yeah, check this out. And then we just and then we're taking it up another level, and it's just and that's awesome. Like when Johnny was here that one day and we put that pickup into the Kramer guitar and then we started jamming out, and he brought another Kramer, the purple one, with him, so we jammed out together, and that was cool, man. And you up your game, like they say, right? And it's a good healthy thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's tiring. Sometimes you want to just, do we have to compete on everything? Can we just kind of like just settle into it? Sometimes there's that side of me, that Laz the monk, meditation singing bowl dude that wants just to go all the time.
I don't have gas because YouTube gives me gas, but playing music doesn't. Like I can pick up my guitar anytime I want and
right,
completely do anything I want.
Oh, you're in a different world. Yeah.
And I don't even care about gear because I have what I need, right? But if I go on YouTube and start thinking about gear and I need that thing and that thing, it's like, forget that, because I'll obsess over it, and I don't want to do that.
L&M had to admit that he knocked out some drunk guy who poured some water over him while he was sleeping during his military service, and that happens. Anyway, but yeah, thanks everybody for coming to the show. I hope you guys are finding this Sunday show fruitful, informative. Share it. I'm not getting as many live viewers of this show, but it might be because of some other things going on and that we were a late start today too. And I don't project these out like a week in advance like Johnny always recommends, my good friend Johnny Bean, because I don't always have as much time for this as I wish I had. I do put a lot of time into the research of it, and I thought it would be cool to end this on this one last video here, if you don't mind, Michael.
Just thanks for all the beautiful people in the chat.
Yeah, awesome people in the chat.
You guys are awesome.
And spread this around. I'd love this to grow some more, because I think what I really want to do in life is help people too. I really find a lot of joy in helping others. And for me, this would be the ultimate job, is to do something where I can really help people, right? So
yeah, I have to help people because it helps me back.
There you go.
And I'm speaking at a conference in a month about experience, so it's cool.
Awesome. Yeah. So there's this one section that Halsey, there's also Selena. Let's watch two real quick ones. So I'll just do two short ones. So here's Selena Gomez. It's the trailer to her movie that's coming out. And then I'll do this one about Halsey, talking about, her experience. Oops, not video file. Another pop artist, right? Let's see. Share screen is what I want to do. There we go. All right. Share. Let me go like this and like that. Okay. There it is. All right. Let's go ahead and hit that.
Just be who you are, Selena. No one cares.
The one about Selena, obviously.
It's about who I am. Being okay with where I am. I am grateful to be alive.
Selena Gomez was diagnosed with lupus, depression, and anxiety. She had a mental breakdown.
Let me make a promise. I am going to stop living like this. How do I learn how to breathe my own breath again?
If anybody saw what I saw, they wouldn't have recognized her.
Like my whole life since I was a kid, I've been working. I want to be like super famous, but I do know that if I'm here, I have to use that for good.
What's holding you back from doing it?
That I'm not good enough. That's something that I've felt a lot of growing up.
In this life, you have to show people empathy, have a chance to give people
more empathy.
What makes me happy is connection, and it helps me get out of my head.
Do you know who this is? Yes, she's real. Mommy went to school with her.
Clearly, I'm still here to use whatever I have to help someone else.
Mind and me, we don't get along sometimes, and it gets
If I get copyright strike, it's worth it.
change my life.
Everything that I had gone through, it's gonna be there. I'm just making it my friend now. I am happier and I'm in control of my emotions and thoughts more than I have ever been.
I think that you are saving lives. I know that you're saving lives.
Just hope I'm a part of the conversation, you know? If somebody sees me like this, then they won't feel alone.
You know, this is the beginning for me.
I love you. Love you.
Awesome, right? And there's one other one too I wanted to show you guys. Let me pull this one up. So that's the movie. So go check it out, you guys. It's on
You can
Apple.
see
Apple
you can
TV,
see the
right?
maturity thing I was talking about if you want.
Yeah, that's true though, right? Yeah, I get what you're saying there. And how old are you, right? I mean,
54.
yeah, I'm 57, and I'm not sure how old Selena is, but she still looks great for whatever age she is. She looks so young. It's amazing, right? But I'm so happy for her and everyone in her circle, right?
And thanks, Les, for doing this show. This is
Oh
this is
man,
an
you guys,
awesome show.
I love you
love
all, man. You know, this is like, how can I tell you? I mean, I love music, and it's such a big passion for me too. And I don't participate in it as much as I wish I could because time, you know.
I
But you
took
have to
a
find a
year
way to
ago
make
do
time.
it. You did it. You did it. It's awesome.
You have to make time for this stuff too, right? And I gotta say, honestly, that you know, the experience of this show is really greater than anything else. Let me find this other one though. So this is Halsey talking about her experience. I just want to get it into the right position. Get to the right spot.
Yeah, monetize your troubles. Yeah, you could see it like that. You could see that documentary like that. Whereas Mariah's didn't come across like that. Hobo Roadie is saying monetize your troubles.
Monetize your troubles.
Oh, I think the Selena one's a little bit like that.
You know, I understand that perspective, but I think like, okay,
I don't get that vibe on the Mariah one though. I don't
Yeah,
get that vibe.
I see if you the Selena one. If you look at the, if you listen to some of the, there's another. I have it in the description. Click on it.
Well, I've seen the whole thing
after the show, but not the movie. There's an interview where
Oh,
she's
okay.
being interviewed in front of a live audience with Apple
Yeah.
Plus before it comes
Yep.
out, right? And that one's really great because she goes into how, like I was saying, originally she was, you know, you have to understand these people are pop stars with managers and big money people around them telling them what to do and what to be and how to be.
Yeah, they
all
have
their
an
lives,
entourage
right?
handling them.
They think they control them, but they don't as much as they wish
If
they
you
could.
want to see that life where they dress her,
Right,
feed
right,
her,
right.
everything. Like
It's
she
like,
doesn't
you know,
have
the
to.
King George, you know, syndrome, the George the Eighth, right?
Yes.
That's exactly the same kind of problem that can happen to you, man. So,
Yep.
so imagine being bipolar and then dealing with that. Oh my God,
Exactly.
right?
And
And then the fear of the stigma, and like when Mariah was talking about actually coming out about it, and the fear of that and what might happen to her and everything, you know. But she finally had to because it was coming to a head, as they say. But here's a really interesting part of this. Check this out, you guys. This part of what Halsey here talks about, and let me see if I can get to the right place. I got to get to the, and then we'll end it. And then both, you can watch these entire interviews. This one is really, really great. I really like her, you know, talking about this here too. And it's not just women, by the way. I just happened to find more recently women coming out about this stuff, right? But it's not just women that deal with this. Obviously, Michael being, you know, our prime example here. All right, let's go ahead and add this. So I'm cutting into part of this.
Well, she's crazy. She's probably having a breakdown, or she's unreliable, or she's whatever. I think that our culture, in a way, has an obsession and a distaste for the crazy woman. We love her, but we also weaponize that word against her.
The pixie dream girl kind of picture has been, I would say it's created by the media, by the pop culture. The mania and the depression exists, but they have been exaggerated. The way they've been presented is such an exaggerated version. Mental health illness does affect women slightly more in certain stages because of their hormonal cycle.
Eliminating the stigma around mental health, it kind of spider webs into this whole other social conversation about letting people be who they are. Fighting toxic masculinity and allowing men to feel emotions. And therefore, if they can feel their emotions, they'll feel, more comfortable talking about what they're going through, and then maybe get a mental health diagnosis and have a better life. Allowing women to be less than perfect and less than ideal and poised and composed so that they can reach a diagnosis and therefore have a better life. Accepting members of the LGBT community and offering them comfort and guidance and community so that they can feel comfortable talking about their mental illness, because it's not just another thing on the list. Just let people be who they are. In a perfect world, that would be how we could get to the root of it. I mean, there's nothing more devastating than putting yourself out there and wanting to connect with someone and then them not accepting you for who you are. Meeting a partner in an episode, and then when I'm not manic anymore, then being like, well, now you're this depressed, miserable thing, and that's not what I signed up for.
Yeah, it's tough.
Or, someone meeting me when I am, in a period of stability, and then having a manic episode and then being like, what is this? What is going on?
You expecting something and not getting that in reciprocation can happen in any relationship, but it happens more so if you have a mental health disorder, especially one that's cyclical. It's okay to express yourself, and it's okay to tell people around you about your needs, just like everybody else does. So living with that kind of transparency actually gives you the ability to be able to say, hey, listen, this is what I am as a whole, and this is going to change. This may change in a few weeks or a few months. And living with that kind of acceptance and not taking it upon yourself or not blaming yourself for this is the most important thing.
It's not your fault. So important.
When I got my diagnosis,
this is really
the first
interesting.
thing people around me did was apologize. The second thing that everybody did was tell me all of the things I wouldn't be able to do. And it was pretty devastating. In retrospect,
I have to pause it right there just to let that settle in. So you get diagnosed for something, and now when you're finally getting treatment and you feel like, oh, the doors are going to open for me because I'm going to get help, one of the first things you have to hear is people telling you that what you're not going to be able to ever do now because you are now diagnosed. That's the fear of why people... The fear of the stigma.
Part of my treatment in any way.
Yeah, that's wonderful that you
you take this medicine and you won't be back in the hospital, and they said goodbye.
Right? Did that work like that?
No.
Exactly. Again, so proves my point, right? I mean, that's the whole point, is that they just think that some of those people are so uneducated and so I would almost call it neglectful. I mean, isn't it in their motto? What do they call it? The Hippocratic Oath, right?
Do no harm.
Do no harm. How is that not doing harm?
Because
they're just shuffling you
they're
off.
Following legal, accepted.
Then the law is doing harm. And it needs to be changed. And those guys should be at the forefront of changing that, because they're the ones who see it every day.
We're doing it.
Yeah. So anyway,
we're doing it, Laz. It's happening.
I know we are, but I'm gonna get vocal about this because it's so important. But anyway, let's
right.
Get
but I'm trying to be positive here. I'm like, it's happening.
Yes. Oh, it is. It is. But we need to recruit more people because a lot of people they don't know.
Expect to look back on it now and I go, okay, well, that was the moment actually where my life changed and I realized what I could do. So I want to ask you, what can people who don't have mental illnesses do to help as well?
Yeah, so it's 3 words. It's acceptance, acceptance, acceptance. I know it's the same word said 3 times, but that's really what it is. It's just first to be able to accept that somebody around them can have mental illness. It could be somebody very high functioning. It could be somebody young. It could be somebody old. The other acceptance is accept that they will need help. The third acceptance would be that this will recur. So it's not going away. And this is something that will have to be dealt with. And that acceptance that it's not going away takes the longest. So all those people who were apologizing to you, maybe they did not know how to react, or they may be coming from a place of ignorance. Because yes, most of the people who get the diagnosis are usually relieved.
Yeah.
And they're a lot of what they were experiencing now has a label. Per se, and they know where to start. So maybe you want to ask them, so how do you feel now? Can I help you in some way?
That's a good one, right?
So
How do
it's
you
all about
feel
giving the
right
control
now?
back to our patients is what our
you
job
doing?
is. And once you reach that level, all you can do is help others. And that's exactly what you're doing.
All right, we can end it on there, you guys. So I want to applaud any of these pop stars, rock stars, or whatever, because, you know, I can imagine that they're not just thinking of themselves as well. They might have a lot of loved ones and people they care about that are part of their entourage or their machine of, you know, money making and whatnot, that their lives, their, you know, their jobs and stuff depend on them. You can imagine the level of pressure. Make another hit, make, you know, God, you know. So that's part of the music industry that I never found appealing and always felt like, you know, like what they say, can't I just be me and put it out there, and then what happens happens. And you could see that in many ways, like Nuno Betancourt, you know, and talking about their new Extreme album and waiting, not putting it out like a little teaser out there, but just letting the whole album come out and letting it be done the way he wanted it to be done. And the world was thirsty for that, wasn't it? Because it was real, man. No AI, like he says. No
Not
AI
to mention all the great
can
guitar
create
work.
that. Oh my God. You know, anyone else can copy that. You can learn it. Like if there's a million Van Halen, you know, clones out there. Creating it, that's a different thing. And I
You got
challenge others to
Paul
do that.
Gilbert and Nuno
you know,
Betancourt are at
right?
a similar level. There's not many other
Steve
people
Vai,
at that level.
Eric Johnson. Yeah, there are some. You know, I hope to see Joe Satriani. Speaking of which, I'm having a hard time letting this one go, you guys. Anyway, my JS1,
Was I right, Laz? I guessed the price the other day because I thought I remembered you saying it when you bought it.
It was about $600.
$600. I was right. I said that in the press.
I still can't believe that thing. And what's so funny is, you know, you've heard of that thing, The Secret.
Yeah.
Play with that, people, because it's a positive. You know, if we're all really in a simulation, then play with that, because maybe you'll get the things you want by asking for it, because maybe it's part of the game. You know, but because some people believe we're actually in a simulated, you know, possible universe. And if that is true, then, and part of the secret is manifested by asking for it. And I asked for it and it came, it happened, and boom, there it is.
You have
I mean, dudes, when I first saw Henning's video of him making a 2-tier wooden, you know, pedal holder, you know, I was just watching some Russian hacks guy doing like how to scramble an egg without breaking the egg. You put it in a sock and you go like this, you know, and then it scrambles when you open it. It's perfectly scrambled at the beginning, so you don't have to scramble it after, right? So silly things like I was watching this kind of how to make a camp stove out of a Pepsi can and some flammable liquid of some kind, like alcohol or whatever, you know, things like that, you know. It was, and then all of a sudden he popped up because he was building something, a DIY kind of thing, because I like to do it myself kind of stuff. I like to make and build things, and then I became a Henning fan, and you know, how many years later now? That was about 2015 or 14, something like that. Less than 10 years later, and last year I was at his place. I won somehow out of thousands, over 1,000 people. That guitar right there. I won Love Potion number 9. Number 9. Hennings
I have
142.
I have something in common with you too, Laz. My first channel I found in the guitar community was Will's Easy Guitar.
Oh, I watched him too. Yeah, of course.
And I ended up with a guitar that he was throwing off because he did fretwork on it. And I gave it to someone.
Love
'cause
that
they,
guy.
They wanted to learn how to play
Scott
guitar,
Grove.
and I
Oh,
gave it away
Will.
to someone.
Will,
Yeah,
he was
Will
doing, yeah,
Galvin.
Will. I'm sorry, yeah, Galvin, yeah, the garbage grouch, yeah.
Yeah. So,
But I mean,
but I
it's
did
not
that
the
too.
most,
I ended up with one of his guitars.
yeah.
I
I
gave it
also
away.
like Scott Grove for similar reasons. They were both,
Oh yeah,
you
Dr.
know,
Groovy.
Dr. Groovy music, yeah. Scott Grove, one of my favorite videos of his. If you haven't seen it, if it's still up, it might have gotten pulled. I don't know, but Gibson's tone polish video. Oh my God. You know which one I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, just look it up. If it's still out there, man, it's worth the watch. But girls, you might not like it, but the guys will laugh. Some girls will laugh too.
Oh my.
It's yeah. He shakes it up, let's just say, and
I might
something
skip that one.
happens at the end of it. End of the shaking of the bottle.
I might skip that one.
It's so funny though, because he just makes the point about this is such BS, you know, but he's like, this is what I think of Gibson and their tone polish, you know. But you know, you can't blame Gibson either for playing along with the fun in the game too. I mean, look at Chipson, the brand, which is this guy who keeps putting out these funny Chipson things. You know, I have his Wild Whammy guitar, whammy bar up there. I paid $70 for that thing just because it's funny, and you know, why not? Maybe this Christmas I'll give that away as part of the Christmas 12 Days of Rockmas, right? We're gonna have that again this
You
year.
mean
Of course,
the 2027 giveaway, you're gonna do that this Christmas?
the 2027 giveaway. What's
Yeah,
that?
because it takes you that long to send them out.
That's pretty good. Hold on, I gotta hit this. That's true. There was one Christmas it took me at least 4 months to get them out, and there are still people waiting since like a month after NAMM for me to get their packages. Like Janice is still waiting. I think she is. I got several of them out, and I do have one package that I was gonna send to Charles, but he says don't send it now because I'm gonna be out of town until the 4th of October. So that's why you see his show. They didn't have him on. They had Ben Coombs was the guest with Seth, you know, doing the Guitar Safari thing. But yeah, great guys. Yeah, in this NAMM, it'd be great if you were able to come out, but you know, I don't think you're as much of a gear nerd as that, are you? Like you'd fly
No, I do like hanging out with the people. But
yeah, see, we're gonna. I was talking with Aaron of Albus Band and others, and Flipside and other people. We're gonna rent a house, and we're gonna do an
that was
Airbnb.
supposed
We're gonna get a house,
that
and
was
we're gonna
supposed to happen years ago. You know when Ben went? I was gonna
right?
go that year, and
Yeah.
it was supposed to be a rental of a hotel room.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. If I have
It
to be
didn't
the
happen.
one who puts the money down, I'll do it.
It ended up being JJ's, but
yeah,
yeah.
JJ's was good too. You know, JJ's was good. Johnny Bean, of course, fearful of catching something from somebody. I'm like, dude, you're walking around NAMM. I mean, he's like, yeah, I don't touch anything. I won't touch this. I won't touch that. He won't touch
Yeah, I
anything.
don't blame Johnny.
Yeah, but you know, but you're breathing the air, and unless you're wearing a mask, the particulate air, you know, matter.
Whatever.
If someone's
Yeah.
speaking right to your face, then there you go. It's gonna get in. It's gonna get on you a lot quicker that way than touching a guitar. Sorry, that's fact. That's science. Anyway, so it is what it is, you guys. That's the end of the show. I really appreciate everyone coming. Share this out to others if you felt it was, you know, informative and helpful in some way. Share it to people on Facebook. We do have people in Facebook, but I see one person giving me a thumbs up on Facebook, so thank you very much, Facebook user. And share it to others. And I did post it up on Instagram as well. Share it there. And help me grow this, man, because I think this is really my passion, man. I mean, for me, this is helping people in this kind of a way is bigger than anything I imagine doing musical. And I'm glad to see other musicians and people have found a way to use their music to then now break out and, you know, talk about not just this mental disorder or if you want to call it illness or whatever you want to call it. It is part of life, being a human on this planet. And let's help each other get through this stuff, right? That's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
So I'll have to find a way to unblock people that got blocked before, because that's another side of my personality that might be different than Johnny's, is that I haven't gone through some of the things Johnny has gone through, and I understand his need for being self-protective and protective of his wife and his life and his family members, because he's had some scary stuff happen and unnecessarily, and that does
Probably
happen.
not comfortable with people talking about it publicly like that, but that's okay.
Well, he's talking a little bit, but
I know, but still.
Yeah. There,
Because you're
the
not
bottom line is
gossiping.
that
I just didn't want it to
no,
sound like that. That's all.
right,
Because you're not
right.
gossiping. You're saying caring words.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I love Johnny Bean and what he's done for me and others in YouTube and but I understand why he's careful. And I am a little bit different in that what my agenda here is, especially through this particular show, is to understand that all of us can say and do the wrong things at times. We all should have, the opportunity to change our behavior and change. I don't think anyone is particularly, not most people. There isn't like particularly an evil person that can never change. There are people like that, definitely. There are definitely people like that. They're locked up in jail, hopefully, and those who aren't, hopefully, they're caught. But those people are very, very dangerous to our society and culture and the world and everything around them. Especially
I hope they get
themselves,
locked
too.
in a room with
Yeah.
those red buzzer boxes.
Yeah,
And
wherever
somebody
they
presses
go,
those- somebody
I hate.
presses those buttons on
Yeah.
them all day, every day.
I hate to see anyone suffer. Even the most evil person, I wouldn't want to make them suffer. I would want to end their suffering so they no longer would be that. I think that's part of the reason why they become that. So I truly believe that that's why those people are like that, because they've suffered so much by some extreme that they're so broken. But the bottom line is that I think the people in the chat that were blocked out, I have to find the time to I have to put time into this, you guys, to actually unblock you and let you be
gotta
part
log
of it.
in
But
on the
just
computer
behave.
and find the
I know I have to do that. I know. And like right now, I'm already going late, so as soon as this is over, I got to run to the next thing that I got to do. So, unfortunately, I have a lot of things going on all the time.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody.
Hence, I don't get to play guitar much, even though I'm surrounded by them. They're one of my favorite things, but.
All right, thanks
Still in
everybody.
tune. Thanks for coming. You guys all rock, and see you next time. Check out Johnny's ASMR show tonight, Johnny Bean TV. And Michael B, you got stuff going on in your channel, doing some music?
No, I've been boring lately. I've been doing game dev all summer.
That's
so-
all right. Be boring. Be you.
Yep, that's what I got to do.
Right on, dude. All right. Thanks again for coming on. You're an awesome guest, and I really appreciate you being open about this. And we hope to have you back again, of course, and learn more as we
When I
progress.
know more, I will
Yeah.
tell you more.
Right on. Okay, until next time, you guys, don't forget the secret to tone is in your mind, but the feel comes from your heart. Put them together with music, instruments, friends, and rock on. Until next time, Music Therapy Labs out.
Thank you, Mom.